I'm back. How we doing? Home Run Derby field is set, by the way. Pretty excited about that. We're going to get right to biz today. You guys good with that?
Do we have a choice?
There's a choice. No, there is no choice. I do want to get right to news. Let's do that today, okay? And yes, I'm back. We're excited. We're in Atlanta next week. More details on that in a little bit. But let's hit up Hot Corner right now. Hot Corner is presented by Next Playground, and they have a new home run derby game, which we'll show you coming up in a little bit. So let's hit that topic, shall we? AJ, the field is set. Byron Buxton added to the mix. Pete Alonso gave us some quotes in the last, I think, 24 to 48 hours that he's not in. He's going to enjoy All-Star Game festivities. So now that the field is set, how do we feel about it?
Can you show me the field? Because I haven't seen it. Sorry.
You know Cal Raleigh's in.
Mm-hmm. I know Cal Raleigh. I know Acuna.
Byron Buxton.
I know Buxton.
Buck truck.
No Alonso, which is disappointing because he loves this. But I don't understand that. That's one thing I don't understand. You get a day off. Not really. You still have to show up to the park and take BP and do all the other things. It's not like you just show up and don't do anything. I mean, Pete's going to get ready to play the game, so he's going to take BP and everything else. So I guess maybe this thing really does tire you out. I don't know.
He said it was about the adrenaline spikes, which I get. You know, he gets a day off. He gets to enjoy it. Maybe he wants to sit and towel some dudes off.
It's a lot more to prepare for something like this, no, AJ, than just take some casual BP on that Monday?
I guess. I don't know. I never did the home run derby, so I don't know. But I'm going to take your word for it, Scott.
I doubt it's casual BP. You gotta get after it. So
I'm saying it's casual BP if you're just hitting that day and then in the All-Star game the next day. Oh, those guys probably don't even take BP on the Monday, do they? It's just the Derby guys?
No, you take BP.
Oh,
I think everybody takes BP.
So, by the way, there's only 4 of the 8 that have been announced, Scott. So I don't know where the full field you got set was because I can't find it.
Oh, then I'm wrong. So it's Buxton, James Wood, Cal Raleigh, and Ronald Acuna Jr. so far.
Yeah, isn't there usually 8 though? Isn't there 8?
There should be.
Yeah.
So we got
all right. So
we got 4 more to go. Or get on it. Otherwise, I'm jumping in because I'm right here in right field, and I might just go out there and start whacking. And when Rob Manfred hears the ball coming off my bat, he might have to put me in just for fun as a legend pick.
They're moving the fence too. They put cones out, so
they
if
ain't
you hit it over the cone,
no,
they move it in.
Not here. Not with them juice balls. Not with them juice balls in the chop house. I'd be hitting them balls over there. I'd be hitting that ball in the A up here that I'm looking at right now. If up there, I'd be killing that A. I'm gonna have to dent that thing. Get a new A.
You know who I think needs to get in?
Junior Caminero?
Yes. Did you? We actually got some bobbles. You'll probably have one when you get home because I know you've been on the road for a minute. But I actually do have one behind me right now. I just switched it in. A Junior Caminero. Nice little follow through. Can you see it? He's right next to me. Yeah. He's like the devil on my shoulder.
Right on your left shoulder.
Right there. That guy.
He says I'm in. If they invite him, he says he's in.
How is he not invited at this point? So,
by the way, is Matt Olson going to do it? Because I heard he might be in.
I think that would make sense. He's an all-star, controversially, over a guy like Michael Busch. He's a brave. Mm-hmm.
You could say controversial. My son and I had this conversation last night because we're in the Battery about all-stars, and he's like, Dad, I just don't understand. All-stars isn't really a fair pick of things. I'm like, well, son, you're right. Because the fans pick the first one and the players pick the second round, like we talked about yesterday, and they do this like a month ago. So what's the point, right? Like I don't know. When you do this a month ago, Michael Busch and George Springer, these guys are like players of the month for June, and they're not really included in it because you look back and you're voting on June 1st. Well, there's still a whole month to go. So there's got to be a better way to do it. I don't know what it is, but this isn't the way for me.
Well, let me get you back to the Derby because we have another participant who literally just announced that he's in the mix. So It's James Wood, Byron Buxton, Cal Raleigh, Ronald Acuna Jr., and O'Neal Cruz added to the field so that he can feel something this year in terms of competitiveness.
As McCutcheon said, the Avatar.
He's not an all-star, though, is he?
I don't think so. But who cares? Do we care?
No.
That's a thing with, I think, some of the veterans more, Kratz, where they're like, oh, I'll go, or I'll do the Derby if I get in as an all-star. Otherwise, I'm not in. I feel like if you're a younger guy and you get the ask and you feel like it that year, go for it.
Yeah, but it seems like they're not asking guys. They're not asking guys until now. Okay, all the all-stars have been asked. I'm just guessing. All the all-stars have been asked. They've declined. Now they're going to guys that aren't all-stars. And to me, if you're going to do non-all-stars, they're going to sit there. They're going to be in their all-star gear. They're technically not an all-star for the season, but it's a home run derby. It's not an all-star. It's not the best home run hitters in the all-star game. It's a home run derby. So open it up. Open it up to the non-all-star guys because you want to see the farthest home runs to me. And I've said this forever. Open it up to a minor leaguer. You're leading the league. Open it up to them. They have high school guys in between the third and fourth round. Let a minor leaguer get in there. See if he can show some dudes up, just like in the NBA dunk contest. McClung comes in there. I think we need to spice it up. But I think it's great because we have a bunch of young guys that are in there and not just, Pete beating everybody up.
Good point from our production team behind the scenes right now. You better be paying attention when O'Neal Cruz is in the home run derby. He's got the biggest exit velocity average in baseball right now. Who's the favorite so far out of the five? Who do you like so far?
Dumper.
Yeah, Cal Acuna at home is going to be tough because the crowd's going to get behind him and he's going to get the blood flowing and he knows this park better. And one thing about the difference, I think, between a lot of these guys and what Acuna can do, he can go to right center, and that's a big deal in home run derbies. If you can miss balls to the opposite field and they still go out, then that's a huge advantage.
All right, so Dumper, a.k.a. Cal Raleigh, most home runs in baseball, has been dreaming about this moment for a while. Did you guys see this? It was posted, I think, last night, and it went a little viral. Little but yet big Cal Raleigh as a kid talking about how he was going to be in the Derby.
I'm the home run derby champ. Oh. Say in the pamp in the lamp in the champ. I'm the home run derby champ. He got
I wasn't in the contest, was he?
You aren't going pee. What you say? What you say? I'm the man. I'm the man. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I think he needs to bring that song back too.
Truth. By the way, the coolest thing about Cal Raleigh being in this, did you see that his dad's going to throw to him and his brother is going to be the catcher? His catcher's like, his brother's bigger than he is, and he's like 13 years old. He's like 6'5", like 270, and like a 13-year-old kid. So that's going to be interesting. And if it's hot in Atlanta, man, that kid's going to be sweating. He's going to need, you might have to call a 20-second timeout to get back off him on the plate for a minute.
Just for him, towel him off, towel the BP catcher off.
For sure.
Hey, that's clearly pre-puberty Cal in that video, but he still looked like a pretty big kid that had a bright future, and now he's putting up the best catcher numbers offensively that I think we've ever seen so far in the first half of the season. I mean, he might get himself close to 40 home runs by the end of the first half of the year. So pretty cool there by Cal. We don't get to see videos like that pretty often. I bet there's a lot of that. Do you guys have any home videos when you were kids talking like that? No? Nothing? Where you're like, hey.
My uncle had a video camera. My family didn't have a video camera, so anything that he had, he would have had to have saved. There were some good embarrassing ones. I remember at an all-star game in Little League, he caught me dancing in center field in between pitches because nothing was really happening. So I was playing in center field, and there's a good dance. So if he could unearth that, that would be good.
Yeah, listen. Back when I was in Little League and all that, we didn't even barely have video cameras. So no, I used to have a tape of me hitting a home run, but other than that, I didn't have hardly any video of me playing. There was no there was no video cameras. People didn't have those. It wasn't like everyone with their phone nowadays. So yeah, if you can find video of me, although I was on Scholastic Sports America. Remember that show on ESPN back in the day?
Oh
So
my
maybe
God.
there's some video of that. Yes, I was, Scott.
We have video of that?
It's got to be on the internet somewhere. When I was in high school, my senior year, ESPN came and did a thing on me. Yeah.
Have you seen the video since that time period?
I mean, it was 94, so 30 plus years ago. I mean, I've seen it, but I haven't watched it. I know there was some line I had in there where someone made fun of me because I said something, but I forget what it was. But it's so long ago. You'd have to really dig back in the Betamax to find it.
We've got some ESPN contacts. We could shoot some notes and work on it. Very cool.
What's funny is the guy who did the interview, Dan Dickerson, Dan something. Oh, there you go. Claudia just pulled it up.
That was fast.
Yeah, right. I mean, Claudia's a genius sometimes. But the guy then was in Salt Lake when I was in AAA. So he's like, "You remember I interviewed you a couple years back when you were on SSA?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, how you doing?" So, anyways, yeah, there's video, and we just pulled it up. Look at that. I was a young stud back in the day too. Gosh, I look good. I still look good, but.
Okay, word on the street is we're going to work on that for Slap Hands. But yeah, you had a nice little crew cut going. So if you're looking for that, stay tuned. That's Hot Corner for you. Obviously, we'll talk more Derby as we get closer to it. Hot Corner is presented by Next Playground. Check out the new console. So it's Amazon Prime Week, okay? 20% off, $50 savings for the console. Home Run Heroes Star Strikers is the new game that they have. It launched this week. It's original anime art style. We're going to play it later this week. One-on-one local matches, global leaderboards, and we'll see who's better. Kratz, AJ, word on the street is Todd's going to play on Friday. So stay tuned. And here's a little sneak peek of what the game looks like.
Even summer needs a backup, a pal, a little sidekick in the good kind of chaos. The kind of partner that turns living rooms into playgrounds and reminds us what our bodies and our hearts were made for. Play that moves you.
Hey, let's do a little player spotlight thanks to Arena Club. AJ, give me a player this season that you think is underrated and you might want to try and grab his card.
James Wood. I don't know that he's underrated, but Washington Nationals superstar in the making. And the first slab pack I ever opened had him in it. His rookie card, and the value is only going to go up and up and up. And I'm not going to sell it quite yet, Scott. I'm going to hold on to it because after he continues to hit big homers and put up the stats, make all-star teams, it's going to get more expensive for someone to buy for me.
This is his first full season in the majors. Keep that in mind. I think he's underrated. He's on a Nationals team that's meh, not getting enough attention. He might hit underrated 40 homers.
When he makes the All-Star team this year, they're not going to be underrated.
That helps. He's been intentionally walked 4 times in a game. Anyway, if you want to try and find a Wood rookie card, go check out slab packs on Arena Club. And right now you can get 20% off your first slab pack, or if you just want to go with a card purchase, go to arenaclub.com/FOUL. Use code FOUL. If you buy, sell, trade, collect, go for it. Here's some questions off what we just talked about. Daniel said, why not just have the player of the month for June be put on the team automatically? I think he's talking about the All-Star team. No, Daniel. I mean, what if the player is the worst in baseball in April and May, and then they're the best in June? Do they deserve to be an All-Star?
No, you can't just do that, because what if they were injured the first 2 months and then they're hot in June? I mean, there's a million reasons why it's a creative thing, but not very smart.
You mean like Alex Bregman missing half the first half, but players voting him in?
Chris Sale. Chris Sale's been out for a jump now.
The player vote is stupid. I know I wasn't on yesterday for snubs, but they've got to pay more attention. They're getting beat up by the fans. If they're going to be that nonchalant about it, in my mind, then just give the fans more of a voting opportunity. Agree? Kratz, do the players really care? I think if anything, it kind of shows that some of them are not educated on the entire league at all times, which is fine. They're playing their own games. They're worried about themselves and their own teams.
Absolutely. There's a lot of guys that are like, I don't ever watch baseball outside of my team, so they don't know. And that's fine. but it also shows that you want to make an all-star team, you have a good first month and a half. I'm talking first month and a half. That's what'll sit in people's minds. And when those papers come out, they fill them out and they're like, oh, yeah, his numbers were better. Yeah, sure. Bregman. Oh, he's hurt? I didn't even know that. We didn't even play the Astros yet. Bro, he's on the Red Sox. Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess there's that too. I've heard it all.
Yeah, this year felt extra snubby with the rosters. Let's hit the inside scoop with FT Senior Insider Ken Rosenthal. Ken, good to see you. And I want to start with, I guess, the hottest team in Major League Baseball, the Toronto Blue Jays, with a really soft schedule heading into the All-Star break, already riding such a winning streak. What do you think about this team? And I am going to do something that I don't love to do, but I guess I do it very often. I do check out comments, and there's a lot of people like, oh, Ken, who are the Paper Tigers now? And I'm like, I commented on a few of them for you, Ken. I said, those were the 2024 Blue Jays. These are the 25 Blue Jays. So what's different?
What's different is they're getting contributions from guys that most fans probably have not heard of. Nathan Lucas, Addison Barger, who has really come on, and Ernie Clement. He's another one. All of these guys, Joey Loperfido last night, are playing a major role for the Jays. I wouldn't say major, but a significant role. And it's not just Vladdy. It's not just Bo Bichette. That's one thing that's definitely standing out about them. Also, their offseason acquisitions, Santander, Hoffman, Andres Jimenez, who's back on the IL, they haven't been great, to say the least. And yet they've finally come together as a team. Now, when I called them the Paper Tigers last year and maybe even the year before, what I was referring to was a team that had a ton of talent but wasn't playing to its potential. This team has a lot of talent and is definitely playing to its potential. And of course, I've forgotten the one huge part of this resurgence, and that's George Springer, comeback player of the year candidate. He's having an amazing run at age 35. It's great to see him playing the way he used to play in Houston. So all of these factors combined, and I haven't even mentioned their pitching yet. Their starting rotation, now that Scherzer is apart, has stabilized to some degree. They could still use another starter. They could perhaps use an impact bat, someone who would make them better than they are right now, and a higher leverage reliever. And I expect, and their general manager, Ross Atkins, has said that they will be aggressive at the deadline. So it's a great moment for the Blue Jays right now. They are Paper Tigers no more.
No more? Like never again? Wow, Ken, look at you.
Oh,
You
never
do have
again,
the
I can't
eraser.
say that, but no more for
Okay.
now. This team is different. And Erik, also one more point. Starting in spring training, they were talking about how the culture is better. They're getting along great. You hear this from every team every single year. And with the Blue Jays, there was ample reason to be skeptical because they just hadn't produced. Now they're still talking about how this team is particularly close. And for whatever reason, it all seems to be working for them. And the manager, too, John Schneider, has mentioned that he was not as good as he should have been last year relative to a number of things, communication, line of construction, all kinds of issues. And that, too, has been quite notable with the Jays.
When they say they're going to be aggressive at the deadline, this is a front office, in my opinion, their job should be on the line. And quite frankly, the guys, like you said, that they picked up haven't been all that great. So it's the guys that have been there. Do you see their front office saying, oh, man, yeah, I might be on the hot seat here. We're going all in, because ownership clearly isn't afraid to spend.
I don't know that I would say it from that perspective, that they're going all in because they're scared to lose their jobs. If they make the playoffs, they probably will keep their jobs. That would be my guess anyway. And they're headed in that direction. Ben Nicholson-Smith of Sportsnet wrote a story yesterday pointing out how when the Jays have been buyers, they have been aggressive. Something like 3 trades every time they've been buyers. So this would be normal behavior for them to be aggressive, not unusual behavior. So I do expect that they're going to go for it, so to speak. All in is a phrase that I don't know that any team looks at it that way. But yes, they're going to be aggressive, and I don't know that it's out of fear of losing their jobs. It's simply the way that they've acted in the past.
Ken, We had Dan Schulman on yesterday, the biggest jinx in sports history, okay, which I called him out on. You didn't watch, so you don't get it. But he said the Yankee series was the best series the Blue Jays have had in Rogers Center since 2015, 2016. What does that mean for them going forward? Because they went out, swept the Yankees in 4 games, took over first place. Is this the kind of series that can just propel them to the postseason with this 1 4-game sweep? Then obviously they beat the Angels and then the White Sox. Do we count them? I don't know. I guess it's a big league game. But they've won all these games in a row, but it all started with the Yankee series, and that put them up. And now they're just riding the momentum. Can they ride this to the end of the year?
AJ, I'm always reluctant to assign too much importance to any one series, especially one that takes place in June, July. That said, that was an impressive 4-game sweep. It was emotional. They had the Canada Day victory. They had all kinds of good things happening. And it did vault them into first place. So it remains to be seen how things will go from here. Who knows? They could get hit by injuries. They could start performing poorly. All kinds of things can happen. But in terms of this season, to this point, it was quite memorable. And it's the kind of series that if they do go on to the playoffs and do great things this season, that they will remember as a turning point for them, because it kind of showed that they did belong with the Yankees in that echelon of upper class AL teams. And they proved themselves. Now, they probably felt going into that series that they were on a level playing field with the Yankees, but it's one thing to think that, and it's another thing to do it. They did it.
Ken, I'll change directions to a team that could sell some parts, but could do it in a different way if there's a front office shakeup. Can you tell us about what you wrote in The Athletic this morning regarding the Rockies front office? And my little follow-up to include is, do you think that firings can be contagious in Major League Baseball, being that they are generally done by really one person per team, the owner of that particular franchise?
They definitely can be contagious. Whether they will be in this case remains to be seen. Now, full disclosure, I was working on a Rockies front office story even before the Nationals dismissed Mike Rizzo and Davey Martinez the other day. And one reason I was reluctant to even advance the idea of what I was hearing, which was chatter about Bill Smith getting reassigned, is that teams generally don't replace general managers or heads of baseball operations before the deadline. And I looked up, and I don't know that this is exactly accurate, but it's what I came up with. The last GM to be fired before the deadline, before Rizzo, was Terry Ryan in 2016. You generally want to keep your front offices together for the draft, for the deadline, and then you make moves later. The Nationals broke that mold the other day when they made those moves with Rizzo and, to a lesser extent, Martinez. Would the Rockies do the same? They're not an organization, as we know, that is very aggressive, very forward-thinking, very cutting edge, any word or term that you want to use. But certainly after what the Nationals did, you could say the Rockies have even more reason to act because, of course, they're headed toward a record, historic losing season. So I don't know that it's going to transpire in that way, the way that the Nationals did. But at the same time, their owner, Dick Manfred, has talked about how, yes, we understand the criticism that we're too insular. The other co-owner, Charlie Manfred, less influential with the team, has said we need new faces. So when they talk about that with regard to the front office, it seems almost fait accompli that Bill Schmidt will be replaced. The question is when.
Some of the times in the article you wrote about how, but history says the Rockies are maybe just going to not replace him, but just redelegate his duties. Is there a chance that the league steps in this situation with the Rockies in the sense of there's not a competitiveness, but they're willing to – they're like checking all the boxes that the league will just be like, hey, whatever. If you just want to keep putting your money in, you have a team, we don't ever need to step in because they're so insular, but they haven't been competitive for a long time.
First of all, Erik, it seems to me they realize that they need to go outside. And going outside with that organization is a little tricky because, as I wrote, you have to have, it would seem, some familiarity, some intimate knowledge of the challenges of playing at Coors Field to succeed there. Doesn't mean that you can't hire someone who has never been there and have that person turn the team around. But someone who has worked for the Rockies, who understands the challenges of altitude, that probably would be the way to go. So in that sense, they might be a little insular still, but at least they'd be going to someone who has gone to other organizations after working for the Rockies. And I mentioned some names in there. Now, will the league ever step in on a situation like this? The answer seemingly is no. Only times the league has stepped in to kind of disrupt things would be when an ownership is financially negligent. The McCourts in Los Angeles, that was one. But generally speaking, MLB lets the clubs run themselves. They're franchises of Major League Baseball, but they are independently owned. And they don't ever get in the way of a front office, even if a front office is performing really poorly. It wouldn't just be the Rockies we'd be talking about if we wanted wanted the league to step in and do some things. It would be other teams as well. They don't do that. And I don't know that they should. When an ownership is committing financial malpractice or doing things that are borderline unethical, then that's a different story. Yes, the league should step in. But to correct the ills of a front office, no, they don't do that. And I'm not sure that they should.
Great. But speaking of front offices, Ken, you mentioned it a little bit when you talked about the Nationals. It was weird timing for me that they fired Rizzo right before the draft. They have the first pick in the draft. I'm sure that pick has already been, consummated or whatever, whether it's Holiday or Kate Anderson or whoever it is that they decide to pick first. But it's just strange timing. You fire the GM. I know they promoted a interim GM, but usually you want to wait till after the draft and after the trade deadline to do this, like you mentioned. Why do this? Now, I don't know this for a fact, but I was on teams. Tom Kelly, one time, they wanted to get rid of his pitching coach, and he said no, so he left with them. Is this a case where maybe Lerner came to Rizzo? And again, I don't know if this is the fact, or it just is such weird timing. And Rizzo has been there for so long that Lerner maybe came to him and said, hey, Mike, you got to fire Davey. And he's like, no. And he's like, okay, you're both gone. Now, again, this is all speculation. This is not a fact. I have no idea if this is the right thing, but I've seen this happen before. Is this the case? Because it's just such odd timing, not for a manager, but for a GM.
If that's the case, AJ, I have not confirmed it yet. And I've heard that theory. That theory makes sense to me, that Rizzo would say, you fire him, you got to fire me too, or something along those lines. But I have not confirmed it. Now, the timing is related to the options in their contracts. It's been reported a couple of different ways, but they both had options for next year. And Davey Martinez's certainly was an option that had to be decided on this month. So when you have that, yes, there is some decision that has to come into play. And Davey Martinez and Mike Rizzo have been so closely tied together. They won the World Series together in 2019 that I could see the logic of if one goes, then the other has to go from ownership's perspective. The other thing that might have driven this a little bit was the comments made by Davey Martinez a couple of weeks ago when he said, hey, it's not on the coaches, it's on the players. And he later backtracked and tried to get out of it the next day, but that kind of talk never goes over well. And I remember covering the Orioles one year where Ray Miller said after a Sunday afternoon loss, he was managing the team at the time, go talk to the players. They're the ones making all the money. They didn't fire him the next day, but they fired him eventually. And it's just that kind of thing that never sits well. So given that and the team's performance and the fact that they have the second most losses in baseball since winning the 2019 World Series, second only to the Colorado Rockies, all of these factors played a role. I am certain of that. Whether it was prompted by Rizzo standing up for Davey Martinez or trying to, that I do not know.
Ken, to spin this forward, where do you think the Nationals go at the trade deadline? I mean, they've got their young core. There are definitely a few parts that they could probably sell off, but they had one guy running the ship for how long was it? Since 2009, I think Rizzo took over, and he's been with the org since 2006. So close to 2 decades of the same person running point, and trades are complicated. So could this mean that the Nationals are kind of just floating around until the offseason?
I don't know that this is what it means. They've got an assistant GM that they elevated to the interim role, Mike DiBartolo, who has been in trade talks before. It's not like this is new to him. Now, he has not run an organization before. That is new to him. So we'll see. They don't really have a lot to trade. Kyle Finnegan would be their most interesting guy on an expiring contract. Mike Soroka would have some interest to teams, perhaps. As for the others, Nathaniel Lowe is on a 2-year deal, expires after 26. He's not performing that well. There isn't that much that they necessarily would want to do. The one guy that I find very interesting is Mackenzie Gore, all-star left-hander, who is at the same level of service that Juan Soto was when the Nationals traded him to the Padres at the 2022 deadline. Now you might say, well, why would you trade Mackenzie Gore? Well, he's represented by Scott Boras. Scott Boras generally likes his clients to establish their values on the open market. An extension would appear unlikely, especially with the Nationals not spending the way they once did. So that would be admitting that the team needs to go backwards before going forwards again. And maybe the Nationals don't want to admit that, but their system is not in a place to support Gore and James Wood and CJ Abrams. They've got those 3 guys from the trade, and they might get a few others from that trade as well. But it will be interesting to me to see if they are willing to entertain Gore, because that guy, if he got out there, then we're talking a monster package in return. And let's face it, they need more players.
Ken, last one for you, and it's a fan question, but it's going to spark a little bit of a different twist from me. So MC in the chat said, Freddie Peralta, Jose Quintana, and Rhys Hoskins get traded, ? And what kind of return? I know we've talked about the Brewers, and they're in a playoff spot right now. He brought up how they did the Hader move several years back, but that obviously caused uproar in Milwaukee. So I'm curious, this is the twist I'll put on it, Ken. Could you see a team like this do a baseball trade? And maybe there are more baseball trades this year, being that we don't have many sellers with big time assets to offer, including a team like the Braves, right? They're probably not going to make the playoffs, but they don't have a lot to sell. So could you see a team like Milwaukee saying, hey, let me trade from a strength to get something that we need that helps us now?
Yes, I could see a baseball trade happening. And what you mean by that, Scott, is not a money deal, not a player for prospects deal, pure need for need. Those kinds of deals should happen more often this year because so many teams are in the race. Now, granted, we've got several weeks to go before the deadline. Things could change. Teams could fall out. The Brewers are not going to be one of those teams, in my opinion, and they're not going to trade Peralta. The Hader trade scarred the organization, and it left them with an understanding that that kind of deal, when you're in a playoff position, is, while at the same time it could be beneficial long-term, and it did prove to be that got them William Contreras, it's something that was just too disruptive at the time, and it cost them perhaps a playoff spot that year. So I could see them doing some things. Maybe Quintana. They are deep in starting pitching. I've talked about this all season long. It's crazy. They can do some things with a starting pitcher. I just don't know that it would be Peralta. Rhys Hoskins hurt right now. I don't know that they would do it with him either. They need all the offense they can get. But a starting pitcher, perhaps, yes.
I like it. Yeah, maybe Quintana. I like what Brandon Woodruff was thrown on the table this past weekend. Another guy returning for them. That's good stuff. Ken, thank you. Appreciate it. We'll catch you on Fair Territory later this week.
Thanks, guys.
And you'll also be able to see Ken in Atlanta. Of course, he'll be on the game coverage for Fox for the All-Star game on Tuesday. He'll make a little stop by on Monday or Tuesday. We're going to be at the Truist Community Corner. It's in the Battery on the 14th and the 15th. Those are the 2 big days, Monday and Tuesday. It's presented by Truist. We're excited to be there. We'll do our live show in front of an audience, which could be you if you're in the area, or if you are traveling over there and making a whole little trip out of it, then stop by. Just look up where it is and go for it. 1 to 3 Eastern, we will do live shows back-to-back days. I'll be there. AJ will be there. Kratz will be there. And guests, of course, including Ken, our Foul Territory Atlanta takeover. All right, FT fam, we'll be right back. We're going to charge and give a little props to Manny Machado hitting a big milestone. Kratz, we talk about HelloFresh a lot, but in the same fam is another option for you if you're looking to go on your little wellness journey or you're very picky in terms of what you're looking for ingredients-wise. You can go Green Chef this summer.
And I can heat and eat because this summer I've got like 3 days where I'm not doing anything, and sure those are going to get scheduled with something. Let's give me something super quick that I can heat up. The whole family's eating healthy and they're full.
Menus change weekly, 80-plus dietitian-approved weekly meal options. Green Chef makes it easy to find those meals to fit your lifestyle, so go check it out. FT fam, there is an exclusive offer. Make this summer your healthiest yet with Green Chef. Head to greenchef.com/50territory and use code 50territory to get 50% off your first month, then 20% off for 2 months with free shipping. That's code 50territory at greenchef.com/50territory. Back for a couple minutes, and then we'll charge the mound. Kratz, I don't think you weren't there, but the Josh Hader trade obviously rocked Milwaukee. To me, I don't use that as a trend. I use that as a learning lesson for a franchise that said to themselves, hey, even if there's something that makes sense for us, we have to be careful about the timing. There is a PR component to trades.
I mean, this would be an example of, hey, you know what? It's good they hired a GM that was here during that time, so they understand. You know, we just talked about the Rockies don't want to be insular with things. Matt Arnold understands. He brought it up when he came on the show. David Stearns understands. It didn't go well. Doesn't mean you can't make those trades. I think teams like the Brewers, I think teams like the Pirates need to make those types of trades. They have to be able to handle it ahead of time so that the team doesn't just fall apart. And they were pissed. Obviously, the team still has to win, but the players were pissed.
Yeah, I went in there right after. They weren't very happy. Went in there, did a Brewers game right after. They weren't very happy about that trade. But listen, the certain organizations have to do things to what they feel is good for the long term. And, yeah, it hurt in the short term, but what they got back, you know, they hope will help them down the road to continue to stay in playoff relevance. And the Brewers have done a good job of it. So you can't really fault the front office of what they've done.
Were the players when you saw them?
But as much as it sucks for the players on that team that year.
AJ, were the players like, damn it, stupid front office when you saw them?
No, they were just sad because they couldn't believe that it happened, right? They thought they were in a race. You trade your closer. It doesn't happen a lot.
Let's charge the mound and talk Padres, but first on an individual level, congratulations to Manny Machado, who recorded hit number 2,000 of his career, and he's still got a lot of career left to go in my mind. So props to Manny. And AJ, this is something you talk about all of the time that is probably more important than ever because there is a lack of it in our game. Durability. Manny Machado knows how to get on the baseball field when he is not 100% and be a factor. And that's part of how you put together the counting stats like this. Hits leaders among active players, Manny on this list. AJ, that is actually really well played by Claudia and the production staff. AJ is,
why do I have an asterisk?
You didn't retire, so you're at 2043.
And I got to get back. I got to catch Freddie. So Freddie, I'm coming back for you. I'm coming for you. No, this is pretty awesome. Manny, listen, I remember I got my 2000. It was a big deal for me because it was just a big round number, right? And round numbers are awesome, but you know, Manny's going to pass me. This is going to be me in Manny's rearview mirror. He's going to wave as he goes flying past me, right, at 100 miles an hour. So it was a big deal for me because as a catcher to get 2,000 was a big deal. But for him, listen, he's going to go to the Hall of Fame. He knows exactly what to do. He hits homers. He gets big hits. He's the face of the Padres. And you know what? Congratulations, Manny. A lot of people over the years have said a lot of things to you and about you, but you've always been great to me. And you know what? From everyone I've talked to, you've grown up. You've become a true leader, and good for you. So congratulations, Manny Machado.
2,000 hits is so crazy. Just to hear that number, AJ always has that number. Like, he's got his 2,000 hit ball. Like, you sit there and you go, what that takes? I'll tell you what it takes. You got to be out on the field. Don't even talk about like, oh, he's such a good player. Clearly, obviously, he's out on the field, and that is maybe one of the most underrated things that people do not talk about. We talk about it on the show because there's players on this show. It is so underrated because teams really don't value it, except when they have it, they're like, whoa, this is great. When a manager can just pen in a guy instead of pencil in guys and be like, hey, how you feeling? How is this guy feeling to the training staff? Oh, he needs a day. Oh, he just went 3 for 3. He still needs a day? Okay, we'll make sure we get it for him. Like, this guy doesn't need a day. When he takes a day, yeah, you know what? He might not bust it at what fans say 100% down the line. You know why that is? Because he needs 3 more at-bats in this game, 4 more tomorrow, because he's better than any other option that you have to put out there. Bar none, one of the best players of our generation, one of the best hitters, and maybe a top 2 or 3 fielder of our generation.
I remember when Peyton Manning, was getting late in his career, and there were articles out there about how much money he spent on having a team behind him. I think he even plucked one of the better doctors out there and just said, "Hey, you're my personal doctor now, and I'll pay you what I need to pay you because I'm making so much money." To a lesser extent, just in terms of how much is being spent, is my guess. Manny Machado's got that going. I know that for a fact. He's got a whole team behind him, so he's spending on it. I mean, AJ, it takes genetics, of course, to be durable, but let's remember, Manny's had injuries. It's just that he often will return pretty quickly, or he'll play hurt and still be effective enough to be better than who would replace him. So I'm giving credit there. But I know he's got, the whole deal from a personal level, a whole team with him. I think he even travels a chef, which a couple other guys do. I think Mookie Betts does that. So you have to be rich, but I do give him credit for getting a whole team around him so that he can be the best version of himself if possible. If you've got the big contract, you might as well put a little bit into yourself so you can play longer, right?
Agreed. And this is one of the things that has changed over the years is that, hey, you have to invest in yourself and in your health, because guys used to not care about what they ate or what they did or their sleep schedule. They just be like, I can play. Where now we're trying to optimize, not only play, but play your best. And Manny Machado has done this. Mookie's done this. There's a lot of players that have done this. So it's cool to see. It's cool to see guys that play hurt, because there is a difference between being injured and being hurt. And Manny plays hurt and, or injured, whatever way you want to look at it. And there's soreness he plays through. Remember, he had the elbow surgery not long ago. He kept playing. He's had wrist things. He's had all these things, the hamstrings, whatever, leg problems, whatever it is, but he always is out there, and he rushes back to get out there because he knows his team is better when he's on the field, and it's great to see.
Yeah, he tore up his knee really early on in his career, right? And I remember he was getting criticized, not criticized, but they're like, "Oh, I'm worried about him long term." And I'm like, don't overlook that he had that injury at such a young age that you can actually recover quicker at a young age, right? I mean, the body obviously is able to heal better.
I remember people talking about like how he stood and like how he ran, like his knees were closer, and people were like, I don't know if he's going to be able to withstand the rigors of 162 games. Well, either he figured it out on his own, or somebody when he was at Baltimore was like, look, this is what you need to do to stay on the field, and he's done it. He's done it to a T.
Yep. And hey, let's show the hits one more time here. There it is. Just for the podcast crowd listening later on. Freddie Freeman, 23-58, 23-23 for Jose Altuve, 22-26 for McCutchen, 21-45 for Goldie. We joke, but AJ's at 2,043. Rumor is that he's not coming back, but I can't confirm that. And then Manny Machado hits 2,000. So that's your active leaders board. FT fam, let's step aside, and we're excited for this one. Deputy Executive Director of the PA, Bruce Meyer, joining us next. AJ, we're in Vegas right now, and I have not had a lot of time to eat during the day. So
no.
What could we do?
I would love a Huel right now. Vanilla Huel would go down perfectly, because when I have to skip meals because I'm too busy doing what you do in Vegas, which is not eat, I need a quick replacement, and Huel is the perfect thing.
I'm a chocolate guy myself. It's got the chocolate milkshake vibes to it. If you miss a meal, Huel can be your answer. If you're looking for a big protein boost, Huel can be your answer. So go check it out. Our friends at Huel are part of today's sponsorship. They've got you covered, spelled Huel. That black edition is a complete meal to feel full, focused, and ready for your day. Little prep, basically no prep. Shake it, open it. Huel has sold over 500 million meals around the world, and now it's your turn to try it. So go to Huel.com/foul and get Huel today with the exclusive offer for the FT fam of 15% off for new customers if you use the code, you know it, FOUL, minimum $75 purchase. Get after it. back for a couple minutes, then we'll talk to Bruce Meyer. One little correction. Machado homered later in that game, so he's actually at 2001 hits. So we update the board with an extra knock. I wanted to bring this up too, AJ. Your boy, Darvish, is finally back. It's been a minute. 3 2/3. What was it? 2 earned runs, 5 strikeouts, but just good to see him back on the mound and hopefully feeling good the next day, and then can get back in a regular schedule for them.
They need him, and Manny wishes they would have won that game last night instead of losing, because the game I got my 2000 hit, we also lost. So it's kind of a weird feeling because you're excited about getting the hit and getting a number, but then you're like, man, we lost. So I don't want to celebrate too much because then my teammates are going to look at me as that guy. So, yeah, but Darvish being back is a big deal for the Padres. He didn't pitch great. His command wasn't great. The Diamondbacks did a nice job against him, kind of getting his pitch count up, fouling off pitches. But, yeah, he's a welcome sight back.
Yeah, I would need to see him be able to attack the zone a little bit more. He was nibbling, I think, but it also just looked like
that's
his
Darvish.
Wasn't...
That's Darvish, though. That's he nibble. He's a nibbler. He's a nibbler.
But it didn't look like his breaking ball was finishing. It didn't look like he tries to get ahead with that curveball away instead of just landing it middle. And I think it looked like it was kind of like spinning out of his hand, and it wasn't where I think he feels like it should be. But reality is they need him. They need him not just to be a superstar, but they need him to be some type of starting pitcher because they're just low on starting pitching.
Bruce Meyer joining us right now, the Deputy Executive Director of the Players Association. Bruce, great to have you on Foul Territory. Thank you so much for the time. And I figure I'll just start with a quick intro, just like we do, passing the rock and say your name and what you do. For those that are unaware of, how your position works within the MLBPA, can you enlighten us on what you've been able to do within the Players Association?
Yeah, thanks, Scott. Pleasure to be on. What do they say on the call-in shows? First time, long time. Been a fan, so happy to be on. I'm the deputy executive director. I'm also the lead negotiator in collective bargaining. I came on in, I believe it was September of 2018. So been through a lot. Been through the pandemic. Been through collective bargaining in 21, 22. Been through the first minor league collective bargaining agreement. And obviously preparing for the next major league CBA. The current CBA, as you know, expires in December of 2026. So we've been doing what we always do, meeting with players, collecting feedback, and getting ready for whatever's coming.
Bruce, before we dig into this interview here, relax. I know you don't do a lot of interviews. Relax. It's okay. You know this stuff like the back of your hand. Just take a deep breath, relax. If we need to get someone over there to rub on your shoulders a little bit, get you to calm down. It's okay. We're not going to ask you any hard-hitting questions that you haven't answered 1,000 times for Tony Clark. So smile, enjoy the interview, and you're going to do great. I'm proud of you for coming on with us.
So first of all, I appreciate that, although I'm fine. I'm kind of always tense. And second, I'm having like a weird lag, which your producer told me you're not seeing. So when I talk, I'm seeing my lips move like a few seconds later. So it's throwing me off. But I'm great, AJ, and I appreciate that.
There you go. Hey, all right. So let's get to biz. Let's try this out. Part of our reach out to you, of course, we wanted to have you on at some point anyway, was timing. We covered the story last week in The Athletic from Evan Drellick that brought to light many comments that became public from Rob Manfred about his latest message, which seemed to be directed towards players in Major League Baseball. What did you think of what he said, and what do you think is the response from the Players Association to someone on the other side trying to stir the pot?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I'll say it's not new. I mean, Rob has done that in the past. Gone to locker rooms, talked to players. Players tell us that he's coming. Players, usually player rep talks to us after he's done. So it's not new. I'll say also, basically it's kind of continuation of a pattern which has gone on for decades, which is the other side. I mean, it's a labor relationship. The other side tries to go directly to players, tries to create divisions between players and other players or players in the union, and that's part of what they do. And again, it's nothing new. So we've been meeting with our players pretty much continuously. So our players are educated and informed, and I think they understand where Rob's coming from when he comes to meet with them.
It was a different tact. In my playing days, he would come in and he would chatter, talk, but to do it publicly, it felt like more, to me, it felt like as a player, more of an attack. Why do you think now is the time that he chose to do that? Because he doesn't choose things just singularly. Why did Major League Baseball owners feel like this was a good time to do this?
Yeah, well, I hesitate to try and interpret what's in their minds, but look, I mean, it's been no secret. I mean, the league and some of the individual owners have made no secret that they would like to see a system that they've tried to get for 50 years, which is a salary cap system. I think probably there's a lot of pressure on the other side internally to try and take a stab at that, but we'll see. But that seems to be the impetus. You guys know, after the last CBA, they immediately formed this economic study committee, which some people think was largely the salary cap study committee. But we'll see what they actually propose. You've been seeing a lot of talk, though, more than usual, from individual owners about things they would like to see in the next system. So I think that's probably really the driving force behind it. And it's a little ironic because they don't actually allow their owners to talk to us. I've run into owners at games and things, and when I introduce myself, they literally say, "We're not allowed to talk to you." I think they get fined. So again, that's a little ironic. They're apparently afraid of their owners talking to us individually. But I think it's par for the course the last couple of years. And again, our players, we do everything we can to make sure our players are educated and that they understand what they're hearing. And if they have questions, they'll ask us before or after. And so, we're dealing with it.
Hey, Bruce, you mentioned owners not talking to you guys. We had Dexter Fowler on here, and he's part of the Special Commissioners Players Association outreach, whatever, I don't know what it's called, but what's the thought on that? Because I kind of questioned Dexter about it, like, man, this is weird because, you're as a former player, part of the union, you're going in to tell players, hey, let's stand with the commissioner here. Now, he said that's not how it works, but is there any thought from the Players Association, like, why are players going to work for the other side? Because then they come into the room and they get access to the other players, and then they can run back and say, hey, Rob, this is what the players are talking about. Does it give them any extra granted access because of that?
Yeah, look, I mean, I obviously wasn't a player, and all due respect to anybody who played the game, and in terms of what guys choose to do in their post careers, I'm not going to question that. I will say, there are players who are being paid by MLB and who are going with Rob to the locker rooms and trying to sell players on a system that this union has historically thought was bad for players, and that they themselves didn't have to live under when they played. So, I mean, that I guess I'll say players, I think, see it for what it is. Players know when they see those guys in the locker room with Rob pitching a system that the league wants. Players know those guys are getting paid. And again, it may be great players, maybe former teammates, maybe guys they respect. But I think players take it for what it is. Players understand what's going on, and again, who's being paid to do what.
Can you comment on the commissioner's words when he said he wouldn't have lost billions of dollars for players? When you break it down and you look at it, and that is like you were the one that agreed to this deal that lost the players. Like, he's saying that the billions wouldn't have been lost if the players would just come over and listen to what he has to say or follow him.
Yeah, I mean, the whole premise, and again, the cap talk is nothing new. I mean, they've proposed something like a cap or a weight scale at least 5 times going back to the 70s. And, the pitch is like, hey, this is really good for the players. And, one of the things players immediately seize on is, well, if this is so good for us, then why are they pushing it so hard? Why do they want it so desperately? Why did the other leagues, lock out players to get it? So, when faced with a claim that, hey, this is really good for you, it's going to put money in your pockets. Again, I think guys immediately understand that uh, the reason they want that system is not because they want to pay players more. They can pay players more today. So, it's a little unclear what's being referred to and talking about. Well, if you had this system, you could have had $2 billion. I mean, again, I don't know what proposal is being referred to there, but the fact of the matter is they want that system because it's going to ultimately put more money in their pockets. It's going to increase their profits. It's going to increase their franchise values, and that's why they want it. I mean, frankly, if it was so good for the players and was going to cost them so much money for players, why don't you see the other leagues, trying to give up those systems? Why don't you see the other leagues say, hey, this is costing us a lot of money. Like, let's go back to the pre-cap system. So I think there's the right amount of skepticism among players when they hear claims like that.
I want to dive deeper into the salary cap discussion. So let's do that. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll come back and we'll do the next chapter here with Bruce Meyer coming up. All right, Harry's is going to get an award here, MVP in the shaving world. And AJ, if you want to equate it to things that we talk about, it's not expensive. And it's super versatile, right? The company itself, because there's other products that you can get on the site, deodorant, body wash, etc. But for your everyday shaving needs, Harry's has you covered. And you look at the pricing, you look at the quality, and you're like, wait, why was I using the old classic brand for a long time?
Listen, as somebody right now that needs a Harry's, I've just been lazy. Harry's, I have plenty of them lined up, ready to use. You can use them for more than one shave, which is huge for me. And the pricing is right. I got to go get my Harry's because my neck beard is sick. But Harry's will fix that. It'll line me up straight. It'll no bumps, no cuts. It's exactly what I need for a great price.
That's right. Get the edge on your shave with Harry's. Normally their trial set is $10, but right now you can get it for just $6 at harrys.com/foul. That's our exclusive link, harrys.com/foul, for a $6 trial set.
Will we see another pitcher strike out 3,000 with the nature of careers and how they are shorter? Will we see it? Well, this is the current leaderboard of current players with the number of strikeouts behind the three that are over 3,000 that are pitching in Verlander, Scherzer, and Kershaw. We have Chris Sale, who is at 2,528. So will Chris Sale get there? I believe he will. He is getting up there a little bit in age. He is 36 or 37. So he's still 400 and something away, but I think that he will get there if he plays 2 or 3 more years. At least, I think he will. Garrett Cole, I think, is pretty likely to do it too. He is a little bit younger. He's 35. Is he 35, 34, 35? He's got 5 more years on his contract. For him to throw 750 more strikeouts, I think he will be. And he only had his first Tommy John, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see a phase 2 of Garrett Cole. It's very good. But these other guys, Charlie Morton, he's not going to get there, though. That is very impressive. Darvish, he's, like we said, he's turning 39 years old. He's getting older. And Kevin Gossman, he's 1,200 away. I don't think those guys are close. Are there some young guys that might? Sure. Paul Skeens is of the world, but Doug DeGrom's not going to probably get there. He's farther down this list. I think of only the two that are I think Sale's likely, very likely. I think that Cole is pretty likely, and then I don't think anyone else. And I don't really know. I don't really know if a guy like Paul Skeens will be able to pitch long enough to get there. We will see. But like I said, you got to strike out 200 guys 15 years.
All All right, we're back with Bruce Meyer from the MLB Players Association. Let's continue the salary cap talk, shall we? So, Bruce, you mentioned how Commissioner Rob Manfred, brings up the billions of dollars that the players could have had from some magic pot that I don't know where that came from. So, to continue the salary cap discussion, why do you think that we're in a position here where it's become more of a push from the league side? And the big follow-up for me is, are they able to share more money as a league without anything having to do with the salary cap? If the biggest complaint is, hey, the Pirates, or bring up another team that doesn't spend much, would spend all of this money if we had a salary cap, why don't they just help them out with revenue sharing to distribute their piece of the pot a little bit better?
Yeah, a couple of things, Scott. First of all, on revenue sharing, they can't change the way they share revenues without negotiating with us. That's something that's been collectively bargained for, decades, and including in the last round of bargaining. So if they want to share more revenues, that's not something they can do by themselves without negotiating with us. But there are things you can do, to the extent we have some teams that don't want to spend. There are things you can do to incentivize teams to spend. We proposed some of them last time. The league wasn't interested. Last time in bargaining, we proposed numerous changes to the revenue sharing system. We said, look, it doesn't make sense right now. You're giving all this money to certain teams, and they're not spending it, and they're basically, putting the money away. And what we heard from the league was, we don't disagree on some of these things, but we can't change it. We won't change it. I mean, literally last time the league told us, we will not change revenue sharing, period. And they didn't. They never wavered from that. Now, this time, it may be different. This time there are reasons to believe the league may be more open to that discussion, but you could make changes. It would have to be negotiated. In terms of, the cap, we're always asked about a floor, right? So, well, wouldn't it be good to have a floor? And just to be clear on a couple of things, we're not against a floor. If they came to us and said, we'll give you a floor, my response would be, great. What does it come with? And historically, it has always come with a cap. In the last round of negotiations, we had an exchange with one of their owners who literally said any amount in a floor would have to be paid for dollar somewhere else. So when they talk about a floor, what they're really talking about is just taking money from somewhere else and giving it to a different team. What they call a zero-sum game. Just they're talking about converting it to a system where nobody can spend more than an amount. Now, again, there are other ways to incentivize teams, whether through a floor or a soft floor or having the right incentives. And again, we're always open-minded about things like that. But to be clear, the league's conception of a floor has always been, we're going to take money from a team that wants to spend it and give it to a team that doesn't want to spend it and somehow make them spend it. But at the end of the day, you're transforming it into a system where nobody can fully ever be competitive. Nobody can compete. Nobody can. It's really the opposite of competition. Salary cap. It's really what it is. Really, is a form of collusion. For years there was collusion and trying to figure out ways to collude. Well, if you have a cap system, you don't have to collude because it is collusion. Nobody can compete to put the best team on the field, on any given day. So, those are just some things to keep in mind about a cap system. And another thing, I apologize, doesn't really go to your question, but one of the things I think people don't appreciate about that kind of system is individual guaranteed contracts. You really can't have them in the cap systems the way our players have them in baseball. In football, this is most obvious. I mean, every free agent period is like a bloodbath. They're cutting players at all levels, Pro Bowl players, middle-class players, to try and squeeze in a salary for a quarterback. Even the quarterbacks they go to continuously and say, would you take less so we can sign this guy? Very few contracts in football are fully guaranteed. In basketball and hockey, they have escrow. Escrow means your contract is not really guaranteed. And in fact, there was an article just a few days ago about basketball. Their players, because the revenues didn't meet projections, their players had to give back $500 million almost of their guaranteed salaries. So, there are other things that come along with a cap system. It's not just a math problem, like, well, here's how much you're getting now, here's how much you would get. It undermines guarantees, it erodes guarantees, freedom of movement, freedom to structure contracts, freedom to do early extensions. All of those things are things that come along with a cap, things that you basically can't do anymore.
So I think it's clear. I mean, on your side, obviously, it's going to hurt the player perspective, which goes against what Commissioner Manfred just said. I'll try and do a nice and simple question and then let you run with it. And some of it you already covered, but I just feel like I need to cue it up this way. We get so much fan feedback, especially in the offseason. We need a cap. It will cure everything, right? I'm a fan of a small market team, and I'm sick of seeing the Dodgers sign all of these players. If not a cap, what is the solution to get those teams more competitive with the big juggernauts in baseball?
So a few things. I mean, first of all, when you look at the history of MLB, the recent history, and particularly when you compare it to other sports, I mean, small market teams have been successful. I grew up in New York rooting for the New York Mets. The Mets haven't won a World Series in 40 years. The Dodgers have won 2 in 38 years. The Yankees haven't won in 15 years. I mean, since the Mets last won a World Series, clubs that have won World Series include Minnesota, Kansas City, Cincinnati, St. Louis won 2. Tampa seems to be doing great every year. If I'm not mistaken, this year the best record in baseball is the Detroit Tigers. The Milwaukee Brewers have been successful pretty much year after year. If you look at the standings over since like 2010, in the top, I looked at this the other day, in the top 8 teams with the best record, you're going to see Cleveland, you're going to see Milwaukee, you're going to see Tampa, you're going to see Baltimore. So, teams, and particularly with the expanded playoffs, I mean, you do have teams at all levels, small market teams, who are able to be competitive. In the last 25 years, the team with the top payroll has won the World Series 4 times. Okay, so the notion that there's a crisis, I mean, I remember, and I know you guys remember, it was only a year ago that we had Arizona and Texas in the World Series, and I think Arizona had the 8th highest payroll, and Texas had the 18th highest payroll. So I think the league is kind of weaponizing. Oh my God, the Dodgers won the World Series last year, and they signed a bunch of players. Some of those players, by the way, anybody could have signed. To a fan in a small market, and of course, if you look at other sports, I mean, we're all fans of other sports. You see the Patriots who made 8 straight AFC finals in a cap system. Hockey has had 3 repeat winners in the last few years. Baseball hasn't had a repeat winner in 26 years. So again, I think the whole premise is wrong. To fans in small markets, I would say, look, competition is crucial for us, crucial for players. Our market system that we have, it's not perfect by any means, but it relies on competition. To the extent we have teams that are unwilling to compete, it's not because the Dodgers went out and signed some players. I mean, that doesn't explain why, the Pittsburgh Pirates, for example, don't go out and spend money. It's not because the Dodgers spend money. There are other reasons why they don't do that. Now, we have proposed in the past, and I'm sure we'll propose again, incentives, ways to try and ensure that teams do spend the money they get in revenue sharing, to reward teams for being competitive. Look, we proposed last time in bargaining that small market teams that I think finished over 500 and made the playoffs would get extra draft picks. League wasn't interested. And by the way, small market teams already get massive amounts of revenue sharing. They get an equal share of central revenues. They get from what they call the commissioner's discretionary fund. And they get advantages in the system. Small market teams have built-in advantages in our system, whether with respect to international pool money or draft picks. So there are already lots of things in there that are being done to try and make sure teams can be competitive. And as I said, small market teams, many of them have proven that they can be competitive. And so, look, I think what the cap gives some owners is an all-purpose excuse. Hey, I'd like to spend more, but I can't. It's fundamentally anti-competitive. But again, we have lots of things in our system already, and things that we have proposed and will propose is designed to incentivize competition and not reward teams that don't want to compete.
All right, Bruce, I have to ask this question, Manfred. Rob, I'm going to call him Rob because we spoke on the phone and he told me to call him Rob. So Rob said that there should be a deadline for signing free agents. Why? Why does there have to be a deadline? So you can put all the pressure on the players to make them not want to, oh gosh, February 1st is the deadline, and the teams just sit back and wait, and then there's a feeding frenzy on, oh, I got to take this job for less money in this job, right? So why would we ever want, as players, a deadline on a signing for a free agency? It seems like a counterintuitive to me if you're a player.
Yeah, I mean, so that's an issue that's come up, and we've heard this from the league, and they've said it publicly. They've said, "Oh, wouldn't it be great? You know, the winter meetings would be really exciting, and look how exciting it is in the cap sports." I mean, you know, in the cap sports, it's a game of musical chairs, and yes, the teams, you know, only certain teams have room, and it gives them a lot of leverage. To the extent this has come up in bargaining, you know, we've talked to our players, we've talked to agents to say, "Hey, how do you think this would actually work?" You know, in practice, and what we've heard, I'm going to say unanimously, is that would give more leverage to the clubs than to the players, just like you're saying. Yes, our free agent system drags along. Yes, there are players that, you know, have to wait until late in the game to get contracts. But again, it's been pretty unanimous, you know, when we talk to agents, for example, that having a free agent deadline would not be good for players. Now, there are other ways you could try and incentivize early signings. You could offer a team that signs during the winter meetings, you know, a compensatory draft pick or something like that, competitive balance pick. There are things that you can do, but again, the league so far has been focused on a free agent deadline, which we don't think is in the interests of players, and nor does anybody else on our side. So,
Bruce, question on competitive, I would say, actions by both sides to just help draw up interest. Actually, on the trade front, this one I think is important to me. Has the union stance been that trading draft picks would be good for the game? And if so, I believe that MLB hasn't been on board, but obviously you're a better source for this. But what do you know on that front?
yeah, I think consistently this union, I can only go back to when I started in 2018, although I'm familiar with some things that came before that. I think this union has consistently been in favor of teams being able to trade draft picks, Rule 4 draft picks. And the reason is because we actually think it would help competition. We think it would help, you know, the small market teams that have those valuable draft picks, and they should have the flexibility to trade them if it's in the best interest of the team. I think many teams would probably agree, but the league, for whatever reason, has to date been against allowing clubs the ability to trade Rule 4 draft picks. We proposed it last time; it was rejected. I can, you know, I don't want to say commit to much in the next round of bargaining, but I feel pretty confident that we would propose that again, because again, we think it's actually beneficial to competitive balance.
Bruce, I know you mentioned earlier in our conversation how owners can't talk to someone like you; they'll get in trouble, which I think is hilarious. By the way,
that's what they told me. That's what I was told.
Yeah, no, I think that's funny, and it does make sense. Hey, if you haven't had a conversation with someone, then that would probably line it up, since you've been obviously at many big MLB events. So my question is, do you think there's a lot of dissension among the ownership side when they meet and they try and come up with what they're going to throw your way? You know, often I've heard that there's a ton of dissension, and then everything has to result in a 30-0 vote, so that when you come out publicly, you're like, see, we were all on the same side on every single thing. So do you feel like there's dissension on things like even the lottery, which I thought was an awesome addition and can prevent teams from tanking, or at least punish them if they're just getting number one picks year after year?
I don't want to speculate about what goes on in their meetings. I wish I knew. I wish I had a source for that, but I don't. But I think it's no secret that, you know, there are, I mean, I'm sure there are divisions among their owners whether that's along economic lines or other lines. I mean, I think we all know that there are. And hey, look, our players. I mean, we have 1,200 major leaguers and 5,000 minor leaguers, and of course, you're going to get people disagreeing, and that's healthy, and we encourage that from our players. So again, I don't doubt that takes place. I do believe that it requires a 3/4 vote on their side to approve any collective bargaining agreement. So I think if you just do the math, that means a relatively small number of teams can hold up an agreement, and that dynamic probably plays itself out. Excuse me, from time to time. But yeah, I've probably heard some of the same things you have, but again, without first-hand information, I don't really want to speculate about their internal conversations. I mean, again, we have had. I alluded to this before. I mean, we have had recently, some owners coming out publicly and speaking in favor of a salary cap, which is, I think, a new thing. At least I can't go back to '94, but at least recently, I haven't seen that before. There was an article recently that said one owner would like to see not just a salary cap for player salaries, but for coaches' salaries and scouting salaries and technology spend, so that clubs can't outcompete each other. I thought that was interesting. So I think you are seeing more of that, but otherwise, I don't want to really speculate.
Okay. By the way, you want to know how to find out what they're talking about? Just hire ex-owners, right? Like guys that just sold the team, just bring them in. The commissioner's doing that with players, so then they get to hear what all the players are saying. So why not just hire some ex-owners on the Players Association side and say, hey, with the last negotiations, we talked about XYZ, and then you'll have all the answers, Bruce. Seems like a simple solution.
We can talk about that offline.
It sounds like there's some stories there. Good luck breaking the crack, but that's good.
Guys, a pleasure.
Yeah, a pleasure. Wait, Bruce, one more for you. Yes, because
please.
Fans obviously, some of this stuff gets really granular, and fans are just like, hey, I want to watch baseball. So are you concerned when you hear the commissioner and owners talk about how it's almost a guarantee that we're going to have some type of lockout? I know Tony Clark, your colleague, has mentioned this before. The stance is, why the heck would you want to stop the sport, even in the offseason, for any period of time, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's up to the owners whether to do a lockout or not. They did it last time, and I've seen the comments that suggest that they're definitely going to do it this time. It doesn't surprise me, but it does suggest that maybe. I mean, what are we doing then for the months before that when we're supposedly bargaining in good faith? If a lockout is a sure thing. I mean, to be clear, a lockout is a weapon. It's a weapon that management uses in a labor dispute. It's their decision to lock the doors, close the camps. Last time, as you remember, during the lockout, they took all the players' pictures off the website, and so that they're not promoting the game. It's a bad thing for the game. It's a bad thing for fans. It's a bad thing, obviously, for players and their families. You hope and expect that both sides come in ready to negotiate in good faith with no preconceived notions. But the reality is that a lockout is their main economic weapon, and so certainly we'll be prepared for that if that's how it goes.
All right, Bruce. Last thing, I'm a baseball fan. Obviously, grew up, played baseball. Well, I love watching baseball. Love talking about baseball. Give us some hope, though, please. Give us some hope that there won't be a lockout, and give us. I know you're. If I ask you, you're not going to give me a percentage because you don't negotiate like that. But give me some hope on why there won't be a lockout and how we can get this done, because this is honestly the first negotiation I can remember. And I was there in '94 when the strike. I got drafted that year. My first spring training was replacement players and all that whole mess. And then I was there in 2002 when we had different buses, one going to the field, one going to the airport in case there was a strike. And then we settled at the deadline. And obviously I missed the one a few years back when the lockout happened and all that. But I've been through all this before. I've been in negotiating offices in Chicago with Jerry Reinsdorf sitting across from me, and we had a bunch of players, and they brought in their people, and we sat there for hours before a game and talked. But give me some hope as to why this won't happen, because this is the first negotiation I can remember where everybody is saying, oh, there's going to be this, there's going to be this, it's going to be awful. Why does it have to be awful? Why can't we just get along?
Yeah, I mean, look, as I said, a lockout is something they do. It's not something we do. The only thing I could say to try and address that with you or any fans is we don't want a work stoppage. We don't want to miss games. In fact, what's interesting, people seem to not realize this. Baseball since the '94 strike has not missed a single game and has had far fewer work stoppages than the other sports. In fact, one of the things that trying to educate players on is, the salary cap actually guarantees more lockouts, more work stoppages, more missed games, because the history in the cap sports is once they get you in that system, the owners just keep locking the players out to get the players' percentage down. There were 4 lockouts in the NBA since 1994, 2 of which missed significant parts of the season, right? I always have hope. As you say, I think we got reasonable people on both sides, hopefully. I don't think it's in the economic interest of the owners or the game to shut down the game. They're making lots of money. I keep seeing, just today I saw something, record ratings, record attendance. They're making money. Franchise value is going up. So there's no reason why it has to happen. We will be there whenever the other side is ready to negotiate, and we will be there with creativity, and we will be there doing everything we can to try and avoid that. Is really the best I can say.
Well, Bruce, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate the extended time. This was super helpful, and we get these fan questions all the time, so it's great to have someone on the inside of these conversations explain it to us.
But Scott, cap sports, they never have lockouts and they never have strikes. Oh, wait, they have way more because it's so much easier than for the owners to ask for more. The hockey players gave back 25% one year. They gave back 25% of their guaranteed salaries. This is why it's so important, Bruce, to have you on and to get both sides of this, because so many times out there we just hear from Rob and we never get to hear the player side. So thank you. I have so many more questions.
Appreciate it, guys.
We could talk for hours.
Next time. Bruce, will you come back at some point when this heats up?
I have to check with my boss, but I don't see why not.
Okay, awesome. Thanks again, Bruce. Really appreciate the time.
Thank you, guys.
All right, we're back. And yes, great point there, AJ. Also, by the way, for people that are going to watch us later on and be like, oh, it's players that are on the show. Yeah, you're right. It is players that are on the show who asked Rob Manfred directly to join us. And the invitation is open. I know someone from the league is definitely watching right now. We would absolutely love to have Rob join us on the show. The invitation is more than open, or anybody that's involved in those negotiations. We would love to have you on and ask the same damn questions. So there's not a narrative here. There's an opinion for sure. For example, Steven in the chat, or who is it? Michael in the chat said they're very curious to hear someone like Kratz's opinion. Since Kratz, you weren't getting these massive contracts. And do you think Manfred has a point? Oh, you're costing yourself so much money. You guys could make so much more.
Yeah, but I can't. Okay, so this is negotiations between two sides. I can't trust somebody who was the one that took that money away. You could have easily, if you're pandering, because I think Rob's pandering to the type of player like me, the 85% of players who don't ever reach free agency, don't ever make multi-millions of dollars. If that was the case, if you could have gotten me more money, why would I want to listen to you? Because you could have given it to us. You could have made it more economical for us, because that, in my opinion, would have grown the game. Pandering to the people that you didn't pay and then say, hey, you know what, come on over and I would have gotten you paid more. No, I'm not going to trust. Like, what? No, I'm not going to trust you. I can't. And they have to come at it a different way. They have to come at it in the sense of, I'm going to help you guys make the game more competitive. I'm going to help you guys be paid more equally, and we're also going to show you that the other teams that don't try to compete, that don't go and get free agents that are available, not the big time, not the $700 million players, but the other guys, then I might start listening. Then I might start, because that's all I was in the game for, was competing.
Yeah, Kratz, I promise you this from the other side. They don't give a crap. They've got one goal: get as much of the pot as possible. That is the goal. I promise you that to a T. A couple other quick questions we'll get to maybe later on in another one of the breaks. Does ABS need to be agreed upon by MLBPA? I don't. Nope, it doesn't. There's
does
that rules
not.
committee. Yeah. So good question.
And it
Sean.
doesn't matter if you notice in the rules committee, there's 5 owners side and 4 players, so it automatically goes through if the owners won anyways. It's not even a fair fight.
Dodger slugger Max Muncy joining us right now. Max, great to have you back on. Always appreciate the time, especially obviously when you're trying to come back as quick as possible. So, dude, first off, how you feeling? How's the knee?
Yeah, it's surprisingly good. It's gonna be a slow process, but we avoided the major stuff, so I'm very thankful about that. And like I said the other day, I get to come back and play baseball this year, and so to me, that's the biggest thing.
Dude, all right, we've talked a lot, okay? But listen, there's an old thing in baseball, bro. If you roll around on the ground like that, you better be stretchered off or dead, okay? Like you can't just say I have a bruise. Oh, I'm bruised. Like, come on, Max. Like, I was watching this and we were texting. I was watching this. I'm like, oh my gosh, Max Muncy just died on the field. Like he's gonna have to have his leg amputated. He's rolling around on the ground. And I'm like, okay, he's dead. Something's bad. And then it came back a bruise. Max, explain to the people how bad a bruise can hurt.
Well, I was on crutches, so I mean, obviously it hurts pretty bad. Yeah, no, but just it's one of those things where you get anything around your knee like that, you automatically fear the worst, especially with that kind of impact. My whole leg kind of went numb immediately, so I thought something bad had happened. But we went down underneath, did X-rays immediately. They did the ACL tests and all that stuff where they're yanking on your knee. And obviously I didn't feel great, but it didn't feel as bad as what I thought it would have felt if I had torn something. So I started feeling optimistic immediately. Didn't get the scans till the next day. But yeah, it was just kind of crappy situation that somehow miraculously nothing bad happened out of that, except for just a bruise.
Let me just say this. We're very happy you're healthy. I don't want people to think out there that I'm getting on you. Trust me, I'm extremely happy that you are healthy and this was best case scenario. So I just have to make sure that you know that. And then all the Twitter trolls and all the people in the chat are like, oh, he wants Max Muncy to be hurt. No, not at all. I'm very happy you're healthy. It's just, as you know, in baseball and in sports, people get hurt. And then once we find out they're not worst case scenario, people in baseball are like, oh, we laugh about it. Not laughing at you being injured, but we laugh about the way people, guy gets hit in the elbow, they roll around the ground like they're dead, and then they get back up and keep playing. You're like,
that hurts.
Dude, I know it does. Trust me.
It hurts.
Not to rehash everything, but in those moments when you hurt your knee, in that moment, and you're sitting on the table or they're helping you off the field, what are some of the thoughts that go through your head? I one time I ever got hurt, and you had to wait till the next day to get that imaging. What are some of the thoughts that go through your head?
Well, it was kind of a wide range. I'm down underneath getting the X-rays, and I hear the stadium kind of go nuts. So my first real emotion was, damn it, I missed Kershaw's 3,000. I wanted to be out there for it. I wanted to give him a big hug, and I missed it. Like, that was the first thing. As I'm laying there on the ground, I'm like, man, I need to get off this field, otherwise Kersh might kill me. He's trying to get this strikeout. Like, I'm holding up this game. I got to get off this field somehow. And that's kind of the first thing that I was thinking about. And then as I'm laying there in bed that night, knowing I have to wait till tomorrow to get to this the next day to get the scans, I'm just replaying everything in my head, because the first thing the doctors always ask you is, did you feel a pop? Did you hear a pop? And I'm like laying there in bed. I'm like, man, did I feel a pop? Like, did I not? Like, I don't know. And so you start just thinking about everything. You get no sleep, and then you got to drive over there and get the scans the next day. And thankfully they get the results from that back pretty quick. And so as I was heading to the field, they'd called and said that structurally everything was good. There was some damage in there, but all the ligaments were still intact. That was the biggest thing. And so for me, it was like that night laying in bed, you just replay everything in your head. And, I start thinking back to 21 when my elbow had gone, and I was like, man, I hope it's not the same thing. Like I can't miss the rest of this year. I just can't do that.
No, you're raking too. You're raking. You want to get back out there. You got them glasses. You're raking, so you want to play. You can't wait to get back. But you mentioned Kershaw, and you went down literally the hitter before he got this 3,000 strikeout. Two things on Kershaw's strikeouts. One, after he got his 3,000, did he come in and check on you, or was he just all enthralled with himself about like, I'm Mr. 3,000 now? Max is down, it's fine, but I got 3,000 strikeouts. And then second of all, have you ever seen a team like the White Sox completely change their approach to not be 3,000 and literally first pitch swing? I'm just going to play pepper. We're not going to strike out no matter what.
Well, so the first one, yeah, Kersh came running up and gave me a big hug. I was telling him congrats, and he was sitting there saying, dude, I'm sorry. I'm like, what are you sorry for? It's not your fault. He goes, no, I let the guy get on second. I'm sorry. And I was like, dude, it's not your fault, man. Like, but he came up and gave me a big hug. Freddie came running up, gave me a hug. Show was looking for me. That made me feel pretty good that the guys were coming up to check on me. And, especially for Kersh in that moment to come and give me a hug, it was kind of like, that was awesome. I wanted to give him a hug on the field, congratulate him, but obviously I wasn't out there. And then, in terms of the White Sox, it was, yeah, they were putting everything in play. It was, no one wanted to be that guy. That's for sure. I think that's something that teams know when you're going in, you go, oh man, this guy's got a milestone coming up. You don't want to be the one to, you don't want to be the guy in the record books on the wrong end of it. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's a good point.
I would expect nothing less from Kersh, by the way, for him to run up and drop everything and give you a hug, because that's just the kind of guy he is. I mean, he's team first. And then for you guys to come back and win that game, I'm sure meant a lot to Kersh. And then he gets the Legends pick. What did you think of the Legends pick for Kersh to get to come to Atlanta and be an all-star?
I think it's awesome. They did it with Albert and Miggy Cabrera several years ago. And I think it's awesome that the commissioner can do that. And I think the biggest thing is when the commissioner does that, it's not taking a spot away from anyone else. And so I think that's where, it's really cool. Like, he's not taking a spot away to say, no, I want to add this as a legend pick. It's just an extra spot that they add. So I think that's the coolest thing ever, is that, the commissioner gets to say, hey, this guy's been a legend in this game. He's accomplished so much. I want to add him to the All-Star game, and it's just an extra spot. It's not taken away from someone else. Because, there's always the conversations of who got snubbed. And, this isn't a case where, oh, well, they're adding Kershaw, so they can't add this other guy. It's like, no, he's just an extra spot added to it. And I think it's really cool. And it's an amazing accomplishment. It's 11 All-Star games for him. That's a lot. They always do something on the jerseys where they add like, stars or numbers for how many All-Star games you've been to. And so I think it's gonna be really cool to see how Kershaw's jersey turns out with that number of All-Star games on there.
It's gonna be so many stars. His jersey's gonna be heavier. Have you talked to him since he got the Legends pick? Have you talked to him since?
Just a little bit, because we had a team meeting on Sunday, and that was when Kersh found out, and then the team flew out after the game, and I'm not with the team right now, so I only had a little chance to talk to him, and I think he was surprised, and classic Kersh, he doesn't think he doesn't think he's deserved it with not pitching a whole lot this year, but at the end of the day, when you're one of the best pitchers in the history of the game, you've kind of deserved everything that you get, and so I think it's really cool for him to be able to go there, and especially with some of the teammates.
But my question was going to be, do you feel like it maybe pressurizes him to quit, like retire after this year? Because the other guys got it in their last season. And how many years could – because to me, the dude has never had a bad ERA. Yes, I get it. He's not throwing 32 starts every year right now. But when he's out there, he is an integral part of your rotation. He could play for 3 or 4 more years doing the same thing that he's doing. Is he going to get 3 or 4 more legend picks?
Look, man, the guy's the ultimate competitor. I don't know when he's going to decide to hang him up. That's his choice, and he keeps it pretty close to the chest. But he's the ultimate competitor. It doesn't matter what his stuff is. He's going to find a way to go out there, give you 5 to 7 innings, and he's going to navigate the game. And he has that drive and that fiery competitiveness to find a way to get it done, regardless of what his stuff is. And I I talk to some of the guys on the other teams when they get on base, and you're kind of like, hey, what's the stuff like? And they'll be like, man, fastball still really gets on you. I keep getting blown up by it, and and obviously he's not throwing 95 anymore, but he's still got good stuff, and he finds a way to navigate the game.
Max, I want to go off the weekend series against the Astros, which I'm sure the team wants to wipe away as quickly as possible, the sweep. But there's a lot of history here. And I'm going to bring up Orel Hershiser on the broadcast, stirring the pot a little bit just to get the reaction. I'm sure you guys all heard it and even had a good laugh about it. I'll say the quote. He said, this was from the 18-1 game in the opener of the series. Orel on the Dodgers broadcasts, legendary pitcher, does a great job. Quote, I don't want to open an old wound, but in some ways they're swinging at these breaking balls like they know what is coming. Your thoughts?
Well, do I think they know what was coming? Yes, I do. Do I think they were cheating to get there? No, I think they had a tip on the pitcher, and that's on us to clean that up. That's not cheating. That's part of the game. Good teams are going to do that. So yes, I do think they knew what were coming, but it wasn't because they were cheating. It's because our pitcher had a tip, and we've addressed it. We've cleaned it up. Hopefully. And that's one of those things where you just have to always be careful about what you're doing out there. You don't want to give anything away to the other team, and that's something that we take advantage of a lot of times. And you have to find a way to clean that up, and that's not cheating. That's part of the game. That's being a smart baseball player is what that is. So do I think they knew what was coming? Yeah, but they weren't cheating.
When that's happening, how much chaos is there on the team side that's getting, beat up by an offense that might know that there's, a certain pitch coming based off tipping? Like when something like that happens, is there suddenly, the group behind the scenes that obviously tries to look out for tips, that's trying to make an in-game adjustment with a pitcher? Are hitters talking about it? Because yes, clearly they were all over everything. I don't know if they said they had a tip, but they never will, obviously, until years later. They'll probably come on foul territory and someone will give it away. But what's going on during those moments?
Well, I mean, the first thing you look at is, like the pitches they're hitting, are they just really bad pitches? Was the pitcher just making really bad pitches? You look at their timing. There was no flinching on any of the pitches, and it was like, okay, so maybe the pitcher wasn't exactly executing his pitches how he wanted, but there was just no flinching at all, and they were on everything timing wise. And this is a guy that was throwing 97, 98 with a wicked slider, and we've seen him dominate a lot of teams. And so for there just to be like no flinching, that kind of throws up a red flag that, okay, they might have something on them. We got to find a way to look at it. And we have a lot of guys that are really, really good at that stuff. And so just, it's kind of a team effort. You just get a whole group together, you start looking at things, and you try to address it.
Have you ever gone to the mound and found a tip that one of your pitchers was doing during the middle of a game? Because the reason I ask is because Chase Utley would always come in from second base. When we had no mound visit rules, he would just come in and he'd be like, hey, come here. He's like, you're tipping. You're moving your glove like half an inch. Like it's always, and you play with Chase a little bit, like he sees something in everything, and he's not wrong, but have you ever seen it and helped one of your pitchers curtail it before it ever gets out of control?
Chase was the best at it. He was amazing. He could see things that really probably weren't there, but he could see it. And he taught me a lot about that kind of stuff, and that's he taught a lot of us about that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of times when if you see position players run up to the mound and calling the catcher out, it's a lot of times it's because they're seeing something, or hey, we think the runner might have a timing aspect on you, we got to change things up. Or the guy on second's, looking in your glove, we got to clean that up. And, there's a lot of times when you see that and you try to run out there and, you're trying to win a game, and, that's stuff that can cost you a game.
Hey, Max, the All-Star game is next week. Is there a bigger snub than Andy Pages and for not making it to the All-Star game? Just because, we mentioned Kershaw getting the Legends pick, but Andy Pages has had a great first half and is very deserving.
Yeah, Andy Pages is very deserving of the All-Star pick, and I really wish he would get it. There's still a couple days until the break, and things happen, and they might add guys, or So I'm still hoping that he gets the pick because I agree he's very deserving. What he's done for us in his first half has been incredible. He's we've been saying it for a while. He's a very good player. Um, last year he kind of had some struggles in center field, but that's because he was, a corner outfielder and he's made the adjustments and he's become a very good outfielder and probably one of the best arms in baseball without a doubt. He throws rockets out there and he's very accurate with it. Offensively, he's got incredible bat to ball skills. He's got a good approach. He's got a lot of power in the bat, and he's a star in the making for sure.
When I used to sit on the bench and watch my teammates play games, and guys would never go to like the minor leagues to rehab, I would always be like, "Oh, this guy's rehabbing against the Marlins. Oh, he's rehabbing it." Literally, Shohei Ohtani is rehabbing in the big leagues. He's doing it on the mound. What are you seeing from him? Not just on the field where he strikes out the side of a pretty decent lineup, but also all the extra stuff that he has to do to recover, get ready for the game. Oh yeah, and you guys still need him to hit.
He's incredible. He's definitely a unicorn. His pitching rehab it's tough. You're doing a lot every single day, and that was part of the decision, I believe, to start having him do these rehabs in games, because when he was throwing the sim games before the game, it was essentially like he was playing a doubleheader, and he's kind of still doing that with all the stuff that he's doing to try to get ready for the games, and from the pitching side, he looks fantastic. He's throwing hard. The off speed stuff looks nasty. The hitters are off balance on everything, and they're not getting great swings off, and it's just it's really incredible to watch. You're talking about a guy that is as good a hitter as anyone in baseball, and now he's as good a pitcher as anyone in baseball. And like that's so rare to see that. And we've never really seen that before, and we probably won't ever see it again. It's absolutely incredible.
Hey Max, I have some friends that are Dodger fans, and they want MVP votes for you because since you've gone down, the Dodgers haven't won. So they're thinking that maybe, contrary to Shohei and Mookie and Freddie and Will Smith and all these other guys, Max Muncy, for all the grief over the years, they're like, oh, Max, blah, blah, blah. But now you're gone, and the last 4 games have not gone so well. So maybe Max for MVP might be on their list.
I don't know about that. I'm just I'm a cog in the machine that helps it run. Exactly how it's supposed to run. So that's how I've always viewed myself.
Wait, Max, I got a quick one for you. No one's there. No one's in the locker room. Are you messing with anybody's stuff? Like, do you untie some of like Mookie's shoelaces or tie them backwards to see if anybody notices? Or are you not that bored? Are you just like, no, I'm focused, just baseball stuff, no shenanigans?
Well, we haven't gotten to that point yet. Hopefully I can, rehab my knee fairly quickly and I won't get to that point. Last year with the oblique, I felt like towards the end I was starting to get to that point where I was like, I'm gonna start just throwing sunflower seeds in guys' shoes when they put them on, see if it, make them laugh a little bit but it's I don't like messing with people's stuff because I know that I hate it when my stuff gets messed with. So I leave people's stuff alone. During the games might be a different story. You try to mess with guys a little bit, maybe put a little gum on their hat or something like that. But the classic dugout jokes.
Love it. Love it. Actually, that reminds me of last year. I think the record last year wasn't as shiny without Max in the lineup too, but we'll do the bragging for you. We'll do that. We'll handle that. Max, great to have you on, man.
I'll let you guys do that.
Yeah.
For me, I'm just a cog in the machine.
Yeah, you're just a friendly neighborhood cog in the Dodgers juggernaut lineup machine. So, Max, keep healing up quick as possible. Thanks for joining us, dude.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys.
Appreciate you, Max Muncy from the Dodgers. Be right back for some power rankings. BetMGM locks. Oh, nice. Kratz at the plus 188 spot hit yesterday. AJ went big. A 3-leg parlay at plus 277 didn't happen. Pap's Blue Jays pick was a winner. Pap's theme of betting in general is pick on the bad teams, victorious this time around. And then Alana went with the Phillies. They lost yesterday. Let's update money bags, shall we? Alana and Kratz down, although Kratz getting himself back into a better spot. I'm up a bit. Pap's up a bit. AJ's down a bit. AJ, you want to go first?
Yeah, sorry. They're replaying Game 4 of the 2005 World Series, and I'm over my shoulder, and my son is watching it, and he's making fun of me. But I did hit a double off Brad Lidge in that swing, so he can shush it. All right, I'm going parlay over 17.5 outs for Hunter Brown and over 6.5 punch outs for Logan Gilbert against a right-hand heavy Yankee lineup. That gets me to plus 142, gets me back in the positives. And we win this game 1-0, and that's the worst punt attempt I've ever seen by Aaron Rowan.
Kratz, what do you have for us?
I'm going Hunter Brown heavy here. The Astros to win, and to pretty much the Astros are going to knock Cantillo out of the game before he can get 5 strikeouts. So I'm going under on the strikeouts, and it's paying off plus 175.
There you go. Okay. I think I can squeeze mine in too. I got the Cubs run line and the Red Sox run line. I'm picking one day where I actually have better plus money odds than both of you. Plus 278 for those two things to happen. Cubs offense humming. It's a Shota Imanaga day. He's been fantastic, especially on the road. I like that Cubs offense over what the Twins do against left-handed pitching. And then the Red Sox do usually take care of the Rockies pretty well. And they're playing good ball right now. Red Sox on another roll. I think it's 5 or 6 in a row at this point, but we'll see if they can take down Kyle Freeland. There's the board for you. Plus 278 for mine. Kratz at plus 175 with his parlay. All parlays today. AJ going with the same thing. A parlay at plus 142 with his. All right, we'll come right back. We'll go over some power rankings next on FT. We're back to check out some power rankings, not from us. We've been having fun dissecting what the Athletic puts out there on a weekly basis. So their theme this time around is the preseason playoff odds versus where these teams are at now. And this is from the Fangraphs playoff odds, which are just odds. Remember last year, the Tigers had awful odds at one point. What was the number? Like 1% or 0.1%, whatever it was insane. And it was much later into the season than we are now. So there's hope if you're not on here. But the top 10 all is above the 50% mark for current playoff odds, including the Brewers there in the 10 spot. They were a preseason 35.4% playoff odd. Currently, they're at 60.9%. Tampa Bay was 37.7% entering the season. They're at 68.8%. But if you're listening and you can't see these, I'll just read out the top 10 for you to understand what the Athletic's putting out there. And then we'll get AJ and Kratz to comment on what they like and don't like. Dodgers 1, Tigers 2, Phillies 3, Cubs 4, Astros 5, Mets 6, Yankees 7, Blue Jays 8, Rays 9, and the Brewers 10. AJ, what do you like and don't like?
I like a lot of this, actually. There's not many I don't like. I just don't know how the Yankees are ahead of the Blue Jays right now, and the Blue Jays are 3 games in front of them in the standings, 3.5 actually. So I don't know. I can't figure that one out. But and the Blue Jays just swept the Yankees. So other than that, I mean, for just playoff odds, I like all of these. I like kind of right where they're at. But the fact that the Yankees are ahead of the Blue Jays, I don't get that one. But the rest are pretty good. I still would rank the Dodgers, Tigers 1, 2, Phillies, Cubs right there, and yeah, the rest is pretty self-explanatory. But that's the only one that I have to question because the Blue Jays are ahead of the Yankees with a little bit of a gap, and not a huge gap, but there's a gap. And with Schmidt going down and some of the other pitchers where they're at, things are going to have to change for the Yankees.
This is where you might be able to find a little bit of value. I mean, if you think the Mets are the team that they are recently, or they were the team that they were at the beginning of the year, that's where, you can find some value if you're thinking about future things. But to me, like the Brewers being up there, the Brewers are a game and a half behind the Cubs right now. The Brewers starting rotation, if you're only going starting rotation, is one of the best and most unnamed in the National League. Like, obviously, I think the Phillies starting rotation is the best, but each one of these teams has deficiencies. You sit there and you go, oh man, Phillies don't have any, they have 2 guys over 800 OPS right now. Okay, well, then the Dodgers. Well, the Dodgers, they don't have a starting rotation. Well, a bunch of people are coming back, so that should be fine. It's all these things that these rankings, to me, the Tigers may actually have surpassed the Dodgers. They don't think so when they ranked it here, but to me, they may be the most complete team when you watch them night in and night out.
Dodgers had won, 18 of 21 before they were swept over the weekend by the Astros. Mookie Betts not playing his best ball, really so far this season in general. If you look at the hitting line, they've been missing Glass now for most of the season. Their big pitching off-season signing, Blake Snell, looks like he's going to be back soon. So I wonder how much they're banking on them not having a complete team, but guys coming back. I can make the same case with the Astros, though, AJ. They swept the Dodgers over the weekend. They've got like 4 or 5 starters that are very close to returning. JP France, one of them, who could be a very effective starter. Who else? I know Christian Javier is getting close. Luis Garcia is getting close. And Spencer Arrighetti.
Mm-hmm. But the Astros have held serve very nicely. I mean, the Astros have a 6.5 game lead. 6.5 game lead over the Mariners, a team most of us thought was going to be pretty good. I mean, the Tigers have a 14 game lead. 14 games. They're in the playoffs. That's it. You can put them in the playoffs. And the Dodgers, I mean, their lead's only 6, but I mean, I'm pretty sure we can put them in the playoffs. But yeah, the Astros have done an amazing job. Dana Brown's executive of the year. Joe Espada's got to be manager of the year right now. So yeah, the Astros, what they're doing is unbelievable.
Truly unbelievable. Last note here, because I don't think we'll have time for it later. The Rays at 9 have been a huge surprise. They've got a lot of road games coming up. Shane McClanahan could return for this team in the second half of the season. He's starting to get himself going. I mean, I believe I got to look through the history, but it was the nerve, which they didn't know about at first. They found out about it, and that's why it's taken him way, way longer to come back. But yeah, he started a rehab assignment today in Port Charlotte, tossing an inning with a walk and a strikeout, faced 4 batters. There it is. Whew. Well, if this guy is right, he's a top 10 pitcher in baseball when he was pitching for them a couple years ago in his prime, a Cy Young candidate. So we'll see if they get that version of Shane McClanahan. That could be a huge difference maker for the Rays, and I'd like to see them do a little shopping at the trade deadline. They sold hard last year at the deadline because they have to do stuff like that, or they feel like they have to do that on the turnover side. If they don't have a high percentage of making the playoffs, they're in a good spot. They should go for it. Rays, World Series in a minor league ballpark? Nah, we've talked about that.
Wish we had time to ask Bruce Meyer about that. Wish we would have time to ask Bruce Meyer about what happens if they do make the playoffs and make a deep run. Where will they play? That would have been one of the questions I had to ask him, but we didn't get to it.
Miami's a lock, I'm telling you. Miami's the spot. But anyway, we've talked about that. If you want to look it up, if you're watching on YouTube later on, you can type that in foul territory. Who has the better outfield? This just posted by BetMGM. We'll collab with it online. The Cubs or the Yankees matching up in this one. So you've got Kyle Tucker and Aaron Judge, Pete Crow Armstrong and Cody Bellinger, Seiya Suzuki and Trent Grisham. Suzuki, I know, can also often DH, but for the purposes of putting the 3 best outfielders there and Seiya playing some outfield this year, this is what we're rolling with. Man, I feel like this one's actually pretty obvious this year. But I'm not even going to say who I feel is the obvious side. AJ, what do you think?
The Cubs. Duh. I mean, Dominguez also, Dominguez, they didn't even put Ian Happ in there, right? I mean, if you go Ian Happ, Dominguez, you go through all 4 because Bellinger plays first sometimes. So, I mean, this is easy for me. Cub PCA is an MVP candidate. Say Suzuki leads the league in RBIs going into yesterday. And Ian Happ is really good. And Kyle Tucker, we're talking about getting $500 million contract. So to me, this is easy. This is the Yankees. Even though Trent Grisham's having an unbelievable year, I still think this is an easy pick.
Cubs, right? You said Cubs.
Yes, Cubs. Oh,
Yep.
No, easy.
Trent Grisham had an unbelievable first month. I mean, it was propped up by that, and he's kind of come down to earth. The other three guys have been consistent the entire season. The guys for the Cubs have been consistent the entire season. And I would say defensively, the Yankees outfield is better. Those three are better, but like AJ alluded to, sometimes Jason Dominguez is out there, and that downgrades their defense. So Ian Happ, I think he won a Gold Glove. If not, he was a finalist. So it's the Cubs' overall outfield. But I can't. I'd be remiss if I wouldn't mention Judge's WAR. I get it. We're not big fans of WAR, but what is it? 7.3, 7.8?
7.1. Yeah. 7.1. Although PCA is 4.8, and there's two WAR categories, Fangraphs and Baseball Reference. PCA is 4.8. Kyle Tucker's at 3.9. Seiya Suzuki 2.2.
So essentially, PCA and Kyle Tucker combined are just a little bit above Judges.
Exactly. Good one there, though. That's fun. I like that. BetMGM account holders are going to get an Any Sport Parlay Boost token. You can score a bigger payout if you wager with that token and it hits. Tokens can be used on parlays and same-game parlays. Gambling problem or concern? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
I got bored because, I like to be involved in everything. Pitcher and catcher were always involved, and I couldn't pitch. I was too wild. So, I just asked to go behind the plate, and then I've stayed there ever since. I like to be in charge, and that's the place to be if you want to be in charge.
Oh, that is good stuff, AJ. Wow. Nice crew cut rocking there. And he already had the broadcast chops.
Wow. Look at that. Wow.
I mean,
I don't even know.
That is not. Come on.
Sorry about it. What do you mean? That's not.
Look at that pop time.
Yep. Sorry about it. My bad. What do you want to say?
What a shirt, and you never stretched that much. Your teammates stretched you in high school. That was such eyewash for the camera.
Oh, that's how you know you were stud. Casey, still a good friend of mine. Still a good buddy. Thank you, Casey.
He wanted some ESPN time.